Lieutenant and private soldiers. Yo, in Belport, we bust gas down like Newport. Still advanced in the sports on the basketball court. I was known as a lyrical kid who stopped eating pork and manifested knowledge when he rolled weed and talk. As we proceed to walk, I take you through the streets of Belport, Long Island, New York. Was a leader in my own thought, an intelligent speaker, plus a teacher through the lessons I taught. In the Belport High School, the 5% rule, while the 10% was sharp and trick knowledge, we dropped jewels. The 85% they try to use them as a tool, which brought me in tune with my man Abdul, who was cutting school around the corner smoking weed. When I was trying to help this young brother succeed, I told him his middle name Malik was Arabic for king, and on this planet Earth the black man is supreme. As we took it to the next extreme, started building with Danny. Now most of y'all have seen Khalid. Warning, understanding through the way that we teach. With mathematics, 120, the language we speak. King Khalid, meaning creative king, who born the science of life to a friend named Steve Randall, who was the camel of the squad. As we drove around in the car and we gathered the dog, and we drove to the park where we sparked civilization. Or chilled in the car blazing and sparked conversation about how it was hard to make it, and how we blame the black man's Yahu for being the father of Satan, who is the white Caucasian. But if we raise over racism, we could change the system. That was always the aim of our mission. But there were monkey wrenches in the game, it became twisted. But in our glory, we were true and living. That's why this is more than the story. This is true wisdom. Peace to Hassan, he Allah the Son, one love, who taught me a thing or two about the golden glove. There was truth in the reasons I befriended you, and I answered it with Gumika, didn't mean to offend you. But I remember you when I was studying Holy Quran, standing strong like the food of Islam. We were the gods coming through in a genius attire. And if you see me in school, it was in the Legion Messiah. But you remember me as Taiwan and God body, respected by the teachers, they call me Mr. Hardy. As a boy, I studied the truth to solve mysteries. Now I'm a grown-ass man dropping truths consistently. And Tyrone, I can't call you the Judas for messing with my girl, who when we fought, we were both losers. We was friends, but we broke truces over the lust of women, letting the devil confuse us. But we did our thing in Allah's name, bringing understanding to the cipher when the stars came. Peace to Johnny Justice, aka Johnny James. When you passed, we drew a big 7 for your name. And I heard when you got hit by that car, you was passing out lessons. So it's good that God went giving the blessing. Peace.
Peace, peace, peace. Welcome back to the You and I Versal Temple for the sun, planets, moon, and stars. I'll be your Lord of Hosts, Lord Messiah. And today we're going into the players in the courtroom, or rather say the players in a trial courtroom. Okay, so we're gonna go through this. I'm gonna read through this and just break down of the information that we're receiving right here. So we're gonna start with this right here. I'm gonna go into the step-by-step process of a court trial in the next video. But this one right here, we're gonna deal with the players in a trial courtroom. All right, so let's begin. So it says key figures in a courtroom trial are the judge, a court reporter in a superior court, a clerk, a bailiff. Other central people are attorneys, the plaintiff, the defendant, witnesses, court interpreters, and jurors. So there's a lot of components right there for the courtroom. So you say, let me run that back. You got the judge, the court reporter, a clerk, the bailiff, attorneys, plaintiff, the defendant, witnesses, court interpreters, and the jurors. All right, so a judge is a central figure in the courtroom and typically is seated higher than everyone else. The judge allows each side the opportunity to present its version of the facts. Right, because that's what a judge does, basically deals with justice, which is to do the knowledge to a cipher, you know what I'm saying, or rather I say giving judgment after doing the knowledge to a cipher. Because the knowledge cipher, or the 10th letter in the alphabet as well, is J, which is justice. So we know we're dealing with justice. So a court reporter in a superior court, a clerk, and a bailiff each assists a judge with the trial. The court reporter records all proceedings in the superior court. So that's what the court reporter does, records all the proceedings in the superior court. The clerk's records settled activities for official cases filed. Let me run that back. The clerk records selected activities for official case file records and is responsible for all case exhibits. So, when people enter their exhibits into evidence, you know what I'm saying, the clerk takes count of that. The bailiff maintains order in the court and supervises the jury if there is one. So, attorneys often represent the plaintiff and the defendant at a trial. As officers of the court, attorneys are expected to know and follow all court rules. So they have what's called a code of ethics, like how they do it as far as their conduct in the courtroom as well. Their role is to protect the rights of their client. Attorneys offer evidence and arguments to help the judge and jury make a final decision, a fair decision. The judge oversees the trial and decides any legal questions that arise. Cases tried in a court are decided by either a judge or a jury. In most criminal and civil cases, either party may request a jury trial. So if you're dealing with like I said, criminal or civil case, you can request a jury trial. If you don't want judgment by the judge, then you can request a jury. You know what I mean? To ensure fair and consistent proceedings, all trials are conducted according to established rules of procedure and evidence. Right, so, they got rules of procedure and, evidence. So, the judge is going to make a determination based upon the evidence. Court interpreters are provided for limited English-speaking participants in a case. Right, so if you got somebody that speaks French or speaks Spanish or speaks Mandarin or some other language other than English, you're going to have the court interpreter in there to interpret the language. Serving as a juror. Jurors are the heart of a judicial system in the United States. In all serious criminal cases, the defendant is entitled to a trial by a jury representative of defendant's community. So they'd be like, they give you a public defender or whatever, somebody that they provide for you. They'd be like, if you can't afford a jury, a lawyer, they'll provide one for you. So they'll give you, a lawyer to represent you or a public defendant. So it says the defendant is entitled to a trial by jury representative of the defendant's community. So, people from the quote-unquote community will be chosen from a jury. So in Utah, our citizens, if we had a jury trial in one of our courts, then we would choose citizens from amongst Utah to be part of the jury and judging the case. This type of jury is a trial or petty jury or petite jury. But there are also grand juries. Each serves specific role in the judicial system. So trial or petite jury, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, petite jury or petite jury, P-E-T-I-T, jury. Since 1980, names of prospective jurors have been obtained by random selection from lists of registered voters and licensed drivers who are 18 years of age or older. The Supreme Court may designate other lists of residents from which jurors may be selected. All U.S. citizens who are at least 18 years old and residents of the jurisdiction in which they are summoned to serve are eligible for a jury service. A person qualified to be a juror is exempt from service only if the person has been found to be mentally incompetent or insane, or a convicted felon whose civil rights have not been restored. There are no automatic excuses or exemptions from jury service. Prospective jurors may be called for service by a justice of the peace, a municipal court, or by the jury commissioner of the Supreme Court. Once selected, a prospective juror can be called to a court for 120 days, although in some courts the period is shorter. For example, 1 day, 1 trial. In Superior Court, a trial juror for a criminal case consists of 8 to 12 persons, depending upon the severity of the possible sentence. The possible sentence. A unanimous verdict is required. So that means like everybody has to agree. If one person disagrees, then that'll throw off the whole judgment. So it has to be unanimous, meaning everyone agreed. So grand jury, court grand jury. A grand jury is 12 to 16 citizens who have qualified for service in the in the county. Usually they are subject to being called into session for a period of not more than 120 days. So basically, usually a trial takes that long, about 90 to 120 days, 4 months basically for the trial. And, as far as lawyers and their bonds, I think that's how long it takes their bonds to mature. That's how they get paid and all that. So a county grand jury is responsible for investigating possible public offenses, including corrupt or willful misconduct in office by public officials. To begin a criminal case, the county attorney may present evidence to a grand jury and ask it to return a criminal indictment or a true bill, formally accusing someone of a crime. Right, so I don't know, like in New York State, I know it's like they have like 6 or 7 days, maybe the top is like 8 days to indict you of a crime by a grand jury. If not, then they're supposed to release you. A lot of times what takes place is the lawyer will waive your what you call 180/80 rights. In New York, that in the codes they call it 180/80 rights. So they'll waive your rights and you'll be sitting in there, and then what they want you to do is cop a plea. You know what I'm saying? Because he already waived your 180/80 rights, which was your rights to an indictment by a grand jury. So he basically waived that and pushed it to try to go for a trial and get you to cop out to something. You know what I'm saying? To not have to go to trial or something. You know what I'm saying? So they do that a lot, and that's a violation of their 190/90 ethics, code of ethics. As far as in New York, say for lawyers, but in different, states they have different statutes and codes and so forth. But yeah. So anyway, you got to be aware of that. So basically, if you haven't been indicted within like 8 days or so, you need to be checking with your lawyer. Like, yo, what's good, man? Did you waive my rights? Because, I might need to contact the bar association, let them know that, my rights have been waived and you're dealing unfairly in your conduct. You know what I mean? But anyway. So it says, an indictment means that a quorum or 9 members of the grand jury believe a crime has been committed and that there is enough evidence against a person to hold a trial. Right, so they have to have enough evidence. You know what I'm saying? If not, they're supposed to release you. You know what I mean? It's supposed to. So state grand jury, the power and duties of the state grand jury are similar to those of the county grand jury, except they extend statewide. Up to 3 grand juries can be assembled and impaneled simultaneously at the state level. The scope of the investigations of a state grand jury is specified by law. The Supreme Court makes rules that govern procedures of the grand juries. So those are the components, in the courtroom. Like you said, we went over the judge, the court reporter, the clerk, the bailiff, the attorneys, the plaintiff, the defendant, the witnesses, court interpreters, and jurors. So those are the components in a trial courtroom, And I'm going to go into some other documentation to show you the step-by-step process in a courtroom trial. And we'll go into that into the next video. So stay tuned. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.